She stood behind the counter, her hands trembling as she poured coffee for strangers, her voice always a whisper no one cared to hear. No one, except the quiet woman sitting at table 3, the billionaire's mother, who hadn't spoken in years. When the shy waitress signed a simple, "Good morning," everything in that room changed. The moment their eyes met, a secret was revealed, one that would bring a powerful man to tears. The hum of morning life filled Rosewood Cafe, the hiss of the espresso machine, the clatter of plates, the murmur of conversations blending into a constant tide of sound. Yet, in that sea of noise, one girl moved like a quiet ripple. Emily, the shy waitress in the faded apron, worked with the grace of someone used to being unseen. Her soft, "good mornings," were often lost in the din, her careful steps unnoticed as she balanced trays and smiled politely. She wasn't invisible, not truly, but in a world that rewarded loudness, her silence often made her fade into the background. Every day began the same. She arrived before dawn, wiped down tables, polished silverware, and took her place by the counter, blending into the rhythm of repetition. The cafe had regulars, chatty office workers, lonely retirees, college students glued to laptops, but few ever really looked at her. She was the quiet one, the polite one, the girl who never raised her voice. That morning, however, everything shifted with the soft chime of the doorbell. A gust of winter air swept through the cafe, and when Emily looked up, she saw a man step inside, tall, composed, his presence commanding without effort. His long charcoal coat brushed the floor, his eyes sharp, observant. Whispers began at once. Everyone knew that face. Alexander Wren, billionaire, investor, a man whose signature could change fates. But beside him stood an elderly woman wrapped in a cream-colored shawl, her gray hair pinned neatly, her hands folded delicately against her chest. Emily recognized that look, a gaze fixed not on the noise but on the light. The woman's eyes wandered gently, following shapes and movement, not sound. Her lips moved faintly, forming words she could not hear. Emily realized in an instant, she was deaf. And for the first time, the noise of the cafe seemed cruel, distant, isolating. When Emily approached their table, her hands trembled slightly. "Good morning," she whispered, but the woman didn't react. Alexander glanced up briefly. "She'll have chamomile tea," he said briskly, barely lifting his eyes from his phone. Emily scribbled down the order, then paused, looking again at the woman, Isabella Wren. There was kindness in her face, but also a familiar loneliness, the kind that grew from silence surrounded by sound. Without another thought, Emily set down her notepad and raised her hands. The motion was hesitant at first, rusty from years of disuse. "Good morning. It's nice to see you." For a heartbeat, Isabella froze, eyes wide. Then something miraculous happened. Her lips parted in wonder, her expression softening into joy. Slowly, she signed back, "You know sign language." Emily nodded shyly. "A little. My grandmother was deaf." A tear slipped down Isabella's cheek, her fingers trembling as she replied, "No one has greeted me like this in years." Alexander finally looked up, startled. His mother was smiling, laughing silently, her hands moving in conversation. The shy waitress had done what money never could, she made his mother feel seen again. Alexander stared in disbelief, the phone in his hand forgotten as he watched his mother's face light up with a joy he hadn't seen in years. Isabella's laughter was silent, but it filled the room more powerfully than any sound could. Her hands moved gracefully, signing words faster now, like a dam, breaking after years of stillness. Emily signed back slowly, carefully, her shy smile growing with each gesture. The two women, one wealthy, one weary, were suddenly bound by a shared language that no one else in the room could understand. For years, Isabella Wren had lived in silence, her world reduced to lips she couldn't read, voices she couldn't follow. Alexander had done everything to care for her, built her a home surrounded by comfort, filled her days with art, books, gardens, but he couldn't give her this. He could not reach her the way this quiet stranger had in just a few moments. Watching his mother's eyes sparkle again, something inside him cracked. The weight of guilt he had carried, the feeling that all his success still left her lonely, began to crumble. Emily didn't realize the attention they were drawing. She was too focused on Isabella, her hands moving softly, asking how she liked her tea, if the cold bothered her joints, if she came here often. Each sign was gentle, unsure, but filled with sincerity. The other customers paused mid-conversation, turning to watch. They didn't know the language, but they didn't need to, the emotion spoke louder than words. Isabella's hand reached across the table, trembling as she took Emily's. Her eyes glistened with tears, her smile trembling with gratitude. "Thank you," she signed. "You made me feel alive again." Emily bit her lip, trying not to cry. "You're very kind," she signed back. "My grandmother used to tell me, silence doesn't mean loneliness. It means listening differently." Alexander stood, his chair scraping the floor. The sound made Emily flinch, and she lowered her hands instantly, apologizing. I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean to." He shook his head quickly, his voice rougher now, quieter. "No, please, don't apologize." He turned toward his mother, who still clutched Emily's hand, then back to the young waitress. "You've done something I never could." His eyes softened, the sharpness fading. "You spoke to her." Emily blinked, unsure what to say. "I just wanted to be polite." Alexander gave a small, breathless laugh. "Polite? You gave her a voice. You gave her joy." His voice broke on the last word, and he looked away, swallowing hard. "Thank you." The cafe, once bustling with chatter, now stood still in reverent silence. The other waitresses stared, moved by a scene they didn't fully understand. Isabella wiped her tears, gesturing for Emily to sit beside her. Hesitant, Emily did, and the two began signing again, a quiet conversation in a loud world. For the first time in a long while, Alexander sat back and simply watched, his mother smiling, laughing, her hands alive with meaning. And for the first time, the billionaire felt small in the best possible way, reminded that the greatest wealth wasn't power, but connection.